Rosenberger here, and I'm back. Day 2, NAB 2017, coming to you live from Las Vegas, Nevada. I survived the first day. It was kind of overwhelming, but I'm happy to be back. And with me right now is Henry Tirl. How are you doing today?
I'm a little bit overwhelmed myself, but I'm doing well. Thank you very much.
It's a lot, and this is your first time here too, right?
Yes, in 35 plus years, this is my first time here.
You finally made it.
Yes.
So for 35 years, what have you heard about NAB? I mean, I know NAB hasn't been around that long, or at least I don't think it has.
You know, actually, I'm not quite sure either, but no, I've heard everything that I see and more. It is really astoundingly overwhelming. There's no way, if I committed a whole week, that I could go through all of this.
Did it meet your expectations?
Yes, it's a little bit too much.
Is it?
It's a little bit too much
you need
in some ways.
You need it scaled down a little bit?
Yes.
But it's Vegas. You got to go big or go home, right? Wait, does that mean you're ready to go home? Not yet, right?
Not yet. I have a few things that I definitely need to go and check out.
Yeah, like what?
You know, because I'm in the motion picture industry side of communications. It is, you know, there are manufacturers here that straddle both divides, you know, whether it's television and live broadcast versus where I'm at. So there are, you know, the camera manufacturers, the lens manufacturers. Specifically, I do Steadicam. There are some Steadicam manufacturers here, and on wireless broadcast, you know, transmissions. So
you're really embracing the change that's going on in filmmaking.
You have to. You have no choice. You have no choice. And some of the new technology manages sort of to straddle where, you know, the foundation of some of the things that we've been doing one way or the other for 30, 40, 50, 60 years, it's still there. It's still there. So I was a little bit afraid of the electronic or, you know, revolution and computer revolution for a while, but now I'm very much part of it.
You're okay with it?
Oh, absolutely, I am. Yes.
So let's tell our friends and our audience back at home a little bit about where you started and where you're at today in regards to your career in camera departments.
My father was a cinematographer back in Europe, and while he encouraged me to go somewhere else and to stay away from this industry, but I think he was secretly very much cheering me on. Right. And I wound up going on set. First time I went on set as actually part of the crew, I was 14.
Wow, that's young.
On my summer break, yes, in between school. And I loaded film magazines. I was the only camera assistant on set. And I had a VW Vanagon bus. That was my camera truck.
Yeah.
And that was it. And I've been doing it ever since.
You just fell in love.
Yes.
You knew it was the right thing.
It's, you know, I feel that I need to make a living like the next person. I didn't grow up with any big means, but I do feel that if I was selling insurance, if I was repairing cars, what have you, on my own spare time, for my own money, I'd be getting up on Saturday or Sunday and I'd be making images, you know, for my own pleasure or out of my own interest. I make a good living and I get to travel the world doing something that I would be doing on my own anyway. I love what I do. Mm-hmm. I would say I love what I do. I don't enjoy every single moment of it because it's really hard work. Really long hours, really hard work, but yeah. I really feel very fortunate. And even to this day, I walk onto a set and I get really excited and I'm thinking, this is absolutely crazy. This is absolutely crazy that we're doing all of this and I get to be part of it and I get to make a living at it. I feel very fortunate.
That's wonderful. Yeah. And that's such an powerful feeling. Like you're making this magic happen.
It's an enormously collaborative process, and you know the collaboration is different on each set because every director or every cinematographer have a slightly different style. and so you adjust to it. But it's a collaborative process, and you feel quite a sense of accomplishment and pride when you see the finalized product, even though you know you were just a small part. It feels terrific most of the time. Sometimes the final product you're not so proud of, but
Right.
that happens too.
But that's kind of an interesting thing, that sometimes when you're in the moment and you're shooting and you're on set, and then when you see in the screening room, is there ever a moment where you're like, wow, was that really what we did? Or what type of reaction do you get?
That has happened a number of times. There have been times where I've been part of a project, and I, quite frankly, when you're there, when you're on a project, I liken it to a 100-meter dash. It's difficult to pace yourself. You immerse yourself with it. You eat, sleep, and work, and you're just really fully committed. But there have been times yet where I'm sort of quietly thinking, I don't know how this is going to turn out. And then you see it, and you are really surprised. You're really surprised
in a
positively.
good way. Yeah.
In a good way, yeah, absolutely.
Good.
There have been some disappointments as well, but there have been a number of surprises where I really wasn't quite sure that it was going to turn out as well as it did.
Right.
Yeah.
And that must have been such a wonderful thing, starting your career path and starting to do what you love and sharing that with your dad. I think that's such a nice thing.
It's a great thing. It's a great thing, but there, it comes with its own
Of
foibles.
course.
It sure does.
Yeah. I mean, there's always the tug and pull when working with family.
Well, it's also sometimes it's a little bit difficult to get credit from your fellow crew members because, it's this nepotism stigma.
Right.
Oh, you're such and such son.
Right.
Oh, okay. There was a time where I started just introducing myself as Henry on set. I wouldn't just include the last name, and people would eventually maybe figure out halfway through the project that I was maybe related to somebody. But by then they had already accepted me as that I was a valid, viable.
Well, you obviously proved yourself
yes.
to be your own self.
Yeah. So, but there was a time where I sort of had to do that tactical decision of not necessarily disclose everything right away.
So you're working on a project that's coming out this year, a new film, or you've been working on a new film.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little about that?
Well, has been a number of them.
What's one
which,
that you...
do you have one specifically in mind?
Duncan?
Yeah, Dunkirk?
Dunkirk.
Yes. I was very fortunate to be part of that. It was my first project with Christopher Nolan, who I've been admiring his projects since Memento. And it was quite an adventure because it's a historical tale of something that happened in World War II, and it's shot mainly on the beach and in the surf of the North Atlantic, and it's not a nice or necessarily a very friendly ocean, and it was rain and salt and crashing waves and wet cameras and
quite a few obstacles.
It was very, very challenging, and I loved every single moment of it. Every single moment of it. And the cameras that we used were mainly the IMAX cameras, which give you a phenomenal image.
Wow.
But they're big and they are bulky and they are not very ergonomical and they're very heavy. And so that one in itself.
Were you expecting to have to face these types of obstacles when you signed on to this project?
I did.
You were up for it.
I was definitely up for it, and I knew it was going to be all that. I did, and there were times where for 5 weeks for 5 weeks in a row. Sometimes we were on ships that were just rocking back and forth for 14 hours a day,
Wow.
all day long, and. You walked into your hotel room at the end of the day, and
You were still swaying?
You were swaying. You looked yourself in the mirror, and the whole room was swaying every day.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Have you ever had an experience where you signed on for a project and then it got started and you regretted signing on for it because it just...
It has happened a couple of times, but it had more maybe to do with maybe some dysfunctionality between some of the creative powers to be on set, and that made the situations awkward and uncomfortable. So that has happened a couple of times, but after 37 years on sets, it's actually not been that often. I'm
Yeah.
surprised because I've done quite a few projects by now, and
Yeah.
it's not happened that often, but it has, and then it's they can be very disappointing, and because you really give yourself to a project. You know when you're there on that 14th hour, and then you're just eking out every single. It saps your morale and energy a little bit when it's something that's very, very dysfunctional on set, but does
All
it's
for the
it's
best.
life. It's
Yeah.
it's fine.
You got to work with the team.
I hope I keep on. They keep on hiring me, so I think
I think you're doing
it's
something
working.
right.
Yes, yes.
Well, speaking of teams, you were part of the Society of Camera Operators, thanks to your dear friend, Mr. George Billinger, that we spoke to yesterday.
Yes.
So what do you feel about being a part of the society now?
I'm quite honored to be asked and to be part of it. We do really have the very echelon and top, most accomplished operators. They're out there in our industry, at least on this continent, and it's special. It's special, and it's also a great forum for us to exchange, because a lot of times, a lot of these really top elite operators, they don't get to work with each other. Mitch Dubin gets to go and work on a project. George gets to work on a project, but we don't get to actually share the set.
Right.
So it's a great place to get together and exchange, compare notes and ideas and what has worked or not, and.
It's the only way to learn, right?
Absolutely, and and also we get to. There's always a little bit of a code how to work with a particular director or a particular cinematographer,
Mm-hmm.
and it helps if you know some of their idiosyncrasies or some of their likes and dislikes, and it's very inspiring. I love watching their work.
Yeah,
I'm
learned
a
a
little
lot.
bit intimidated by their work.
I don't think so.
I am.
Oh, well, I'm sure they appreciate that because now they're good buddies of yours. Yeah, they're good
They
buddies.
certainly are. They've been
Or we
very
should
good
say that
friends.
because they're listening, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I think now they're good buddies of mine too because I got to spend some time with them yesterday. So hopefully, I'm getting myself a part of the society.
Come on, you should be honorary member. Well,
I like that.
I'll take that up with George right after this interview.
We'll talk to the
Yeah,
president.
you got it.
Well, Henry, thanks you so much for joining me, and I hope you enjoyed the rest of your first time at NAB.
I am, and it's not over yet, right?
Definitely not. And thanks so much for watching at home. I'm Allison Berger, and we'll be back soon with BeTerrific.